let's talk to Michael, who wants to call in from California. Michael, what's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Michael. How are you doing?
That's good. I'm doing pretty good. When my grandfather died, he was a Zane Grey reader. He liked westerns and things like that, and I had to take care of him at one point. And he would be in, just out of it, but he'd be talking about being in the Wild West and shootouts and things like that. And that was very interesting. But I really caught in. Do you know who Maria Oliver is?
No,
Yeah,
I don't know who Maria. Do you guys know who that is?
No.
Nope, none of us know.
He was a high school student.
Okay.
He was a high school student who refused to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Her teacher made her sit down and write the Pledge of Allegiance to the Pledge of Allegiance. She sued. She won a large amount of money, and she also had mentioned that she was connected to American Atheists. But she refused to stand, is what she did, and she wouldn't say the Pledge of Allegiance. So, but the ACLU took the school on, and she won. So I brought that up because I think it's interesting. I think she should be recognized. I think it's an opportunity for one of the programs to maybe make a connection with her, and and see if they can have a conversation with her, because I think she'd be very interesting being a high school student.
That is interesting. I'll go ahead and start taking on this one, and then we'll rotate from there. But when you mentioned the American Atheist history there, I realized that I had recognized this story before. So those of you who aren't, I know we have a lot of listeners who don't live in the United States. You may or may not know this, but from K through 12, right, kindergarten to 12th grade, so the entirety of your public school career, if you go to a public school, you have to stand up in the mornings, put your hand over your heart, and say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Usually there's a flag in the classroom. Some places now, they probably have flags on TV screen. I don't know what they're doing for the pandemic, for homeschooling and stuff, or from virtual tutoring. Maybe they put a flag on the screen for you. I don't know. But this is something that everyone is required to do, including staff usually as well. And when we say required, we mean it pretty loosely because of this exact situation and others, right? Where the state cannot legally compel you to actually say it, but because of the social pressure of being the only person in the room, not standing up and putting your hand over your heart to say it, you're kind of obligated to do it. And I never grew up in other countries. I don't know how other schools do it. I'm pretty sure America is one of the only countries that actually does this. Maybe there's some other ones. I don't know. Callers would have to tell me otherwise, but it is kind of a weird ritual that people are just kind of compelled to do because you're supposed to pledge allegiance to this state that when you're in kindergarten, you have no idea what a state even is or nation, but you have to pledge your allegiance to it. And if the commies come and and they're knocking down, you gotta be ready to I don't know what they want you to do when you're 5, but that's what they want. They want to ingrain this sense of patriotism in you when you're pretty young. And I think this did start around that kind of time period where there was kind of a Red Scare thing going on, amongst other things, like the God we trust being on our money, being added, wasn't always there on our currency. Could be wrong, but very, very interesting thing. And yeah, I agree. It's weird. We shouldn't make kids do it. That's just my take. But Erin, I'm going to pass this on to you. What do you think?
So yeah, I'm Canadian, as well as I think MD Aware is also. So we sang our Canadian anthem, but I don't remember there being any kind of pressure to do it under any kind of discipline. So I don't know a lot about this story, but I guess I would side on the you shouldn't really maybe be forced to do something like that if it's, I don't know, there's a weird line there between just being respectful in class and going with that kind of thing, and also this kind of weird authoritarianism or nationalism that's kind of being forced on somebody. I do think it's kind of strange, especially when we're talking about elementary or which is school aged kids. It just seems like a weird thing for me, but I don't have much more comments on it from that, because I have to look into that story a little bit more. But if if that is like a stand that somebody took and they ended up winning in court, I think it's definitely a case that should be maybe looked at and put forward a little bit more, especially if they are standing on something like, you know, your individual right to, you know, choose to do something like that. Anyway, so I'll pass it along.
It's definitely a freedom of speech issue,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, for sure. MD?
Yeah, I mean, like Erin said, I'm Canadian. We had to we sang the national anthem every morning, but I don't think that we were ever like forced in any way. And I also find nationalism very like weird. Shocker! All of these like self-proclaimed free thinkers are anti-conformity and all this stuff. Like real hot takes here. I don't really have anything to add.
Sure. Puck, what do you think?
You know, my experience is a little bit different because when I was going up in grade school, there was one person in class who actually did not stand for the pledge. And I guess back in those days, like we just had other things to deal with. And it would have been a bigger thing to make a big deal out of, hey, why are you sitting? Than to just allow someone to sit. And I'm glad. Thank you very much for bringing this case up. And now I have some research to do right along with that robot slime. And also pay attention to our flagship show, the Nonprofits Plug.
That's right.
Where they will they talk about a lot of issues like this and a whole bunch of other ways that religion and society conflict with each other. So now I've fulfilled my contractual obligation to Johnny to always mention the nonprofits at least once on every appearance.
There you go. Man, your experience is different from mine, Puck, because like they made us stand up. And when I say made, they're like, come on, you have to do it. You got to stand up. You got like, it was a very big deal if you did not stand up. There was probably occasions where kids didn't do it and they couldn't like legally do anything about it. But like growing up a kid in Central Texas, yeah, that was definitely a thing from my standing. So anyway, Michael, thanks for bringing this issue to our attention. I'm going to go ahead and let you go just for the sake of flow for today's show. But it's an interesting issue. I think we're all in agreement, though. You shouldn't have to do it, right? Like, you just shouldn't. I mean, I guess it's cool.
I kind of want to see the follow-up on this. I mean, like winning a settlement is one thing, but then did that have any meaningful further effects in that school district?
Well, it's kind of like when a school makes you do a prayer or something. Like, if you don't feel the same sentiment towards the United States, like, I don't know, you shouldn't force to pledge allegiance to it, even though it really doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. I don't know.
But that's the thing, right? Like, what's the point? If the person is not saying it sincerely, then what's the purpose of the words? Like, what's the point of a pledge if you know that the person doesn't mean what they're saying?
It's just indoctrination towards patriotism,
right?
Like, I think that's the purpose, right? Because like when you swear on a Bible or whatever, or you swear in court that you're telling the truth, like that has like immediate legal implications, right? But like if you're just in a school environment and you're made to say a pledge, is an army recruiter going to be like, bro, you said the pledge like in 5th grade, so you got to come join us right now. Like there's no ramifications.
How do they enforce that, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I don't know what the deal is there, but it's interesting to think about nonetheless.